All right, everyone, welcome. If you're heading for a career in sports management, you need to understand something right now. Copyright law isn't just some optional elective. Nope, this is a core chapter in your professional playbook. So for all you future GMs, agents, and league execs out there, let's dive into the essential rules you're absolutely going to be playing by.
Okay, let's kick things off with a big question. I want you to picture the most incredible play you've ever seen. A game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl, a buzzer beater to win the championship, a walk-off home run. Can the team, or the league, or even the player, can they actually own the copyright to that moment? The answer might just surprise you, and it really gets to the heart of everything we're talking about today.
So before we can even answer that, we have to get the fundamentals down. Think of this first part as learning the basic rules of the game. You can't draw up any winning strategies if you don't even know the rule book.
So what is copyright really? Well, at its core, it's basically a legal shield. The U.S. Copyright Act was specifically designed to protect creators, the folks who pour their time, their energy, their creativity into making something new. It gives them control over how it's used. It's really the law's way of saying, hey, your creative effort has value, and we're going to help you protect it. Now, you can't just slap a copyright on everything. A piece of work has to clear two major hurdles. First, as you see here, it has to be original. Just listing player stats or a generic game schedule, that doesn't count. And second, it has to be fixed in a tangible form. An idea a coach has for a brilliant new play, that's not protected. But the moment they draw it on a whiteboard or, record it on video, bam, it is.
So, how long does this protection last? Well, for an individual, it's their entire life plus another 70 years. But in the sports world, a different rule is usually in play. For something called a work made for hire, that protection lasts for a whopping 95 years. And believe me, work made for hire is a term every single sports manager needs to know. And this quote right here is exactly why. The work for hire doctrine is a total game changer. It means that if you're a photographer, a videographer, or a graphic designer who is employed by a team, the team, your employer, is legally considered the author of your work. So unless you have a very specific contract that says something different, the organization owns the copyright to the photos you take and the videos you shoot, not you.
Okay, so let's circle back to our touchdown question. To really get the answer, we have to make a really critical distinction between what happens down on the field and how we all end up watching it. And here it is. This is the answer to that big question, and it is all about this one key distinction. On the left, you've got the game itself, the plays, the stats, the amazing athletic competition. These are all considered facts, and you just can't copyright a fact. But on the right, you have the broadcast of that game, the cool camera angles, the on-screen graphics, the commentary, the slow-motion replays. That entire creative production is an original work, and it is absolutely protected by copyright. The landmark case that really cemented this whole idea was NBA versus Motorola. Way back in 1997, Motorola had created this pager that gave you real-time game scores and stats. The NBA sued them, claiming it was a violation of their copyright. But the court actually disagreed. They ruled that the facts of the game aren't protected. This case basically drew the legal line in the sand between the live event itself and the creative broadcast of that event.
Okay, let's move off the field and into the stadium itself. As a venue manager, your copyright worries don't end with the game. You've got music pumping, videos on the Jumbotron, thousands and thousands of fans. This is where public performance rights come into play.
To really get this, let's use a simple example. Imagine a local gym. The manager is playing their personal Spotify playlist over the speakers for members to listen to while they work out. Is that okay? The members are paying, and it's a public space. What do you think?
Well, the answer is a clear no. According to the Copyright Act, if you're playing music in a public place where a substantial number of individuals are gathered, well, that's a public performance. And for that, it doesn't matter if it's a small fitness center, a sports bar, or a massive 70,000-seat stadium, you have to have a license. Period.
Now, there is one very, very narrow exception. A license isn't needed if the performance is purely for charitable purposes. But the rules here are super strict. It cannot be for profit. Every penny of the proceeds has to go to the charity, and the performers can't get paid. For pretty much every other commercial use, from the pregame hype music to the songs during timeouts, the team or the venue needs to pay up for a public performance license.
So, we've covered the field and the arena. Now let's talk about how the game gets out to the rest of the world, through broadcasts and the internet. And this is where the rules can get even more complex.
Okay, so as we already established, the TV and radio broadcasts themselves are fully protected works, and that protection extends to retransmission. A sports bar can't just flip on a pay-per-view fight or some special cable broadcast for all its patrons without getting a commercial license first. And taping a game to show in your bar later? Oh yeah, that's a definite infringement. The internet, of course, just blew the doors wide open for copyright issues. I mean, think back to the days of Napster, right? Millions of people were downloading music illegally. That chaos led to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, or the DMCA. And what's really interesting about this law is that it created what's called a safe harbor. It shifted the main legal blame from the platform, say YouTube, to the user who actually uploads the illegal highlights clip. That's why YouTube has that whole system for copyright holders to issue takedown notices.
So what happens if you're accused of infringement? Is there any kind of defense? Yes, it's called fair use, and it's one of the most important, and frankly, most debated concepts in all of copyright law.
Fair use isn't some simple checklist. It's more like a balancing act. Courts have to weigh these 4 factors. For instance, a sports news show using a quick 5-second clip of a game-winning shot for commentary, that's factor 1, the purpose of use. That's very different from a local business using that exact same clip in a TV ad. The court would also look at how much of the work was used, that's factor 3, and whether that news report actually stops people from watching the official highlight reels, which would hurt the league's market, factor 4. There's no magic formula here. It's always decided on a case-by-case basis.
Now, for all of you in this class, this is crucial, so listen up. Fair use was created in large part with education in mind, so there are some clearer guidelines for you. Just remember these 3 principles for your school projects. First, brevity. Only use the small parts you absolutely need. Second, spontaneity. If you're planning way in advance, you probably have time to ask for permission, so you should. And third, cumulative effect. Think about whether your use, if everyone did it, would hurt the market for the original work.
So, as you can see, copyright law touches pretty much every part of a sports manager's job, from social media posts to in-stadium entertainment to the team's official website. As we wrap this up, I'm going to leave you with one final question to think about for your future career. In today's hyper-connected world, where do the biggest copyright risks really lie? Is it on the field, in the stands, or in that vast, fast-moving world we call the internet? The answer is going to define the legal landscape you'll have to navigate,